and then the students use that knowledge to develop their own analysis of their own company and the competitors out there. So again, on the right-hand side, you can see that my students have put together critical success factors for their business. So these are the success factors they believe they can take in the simulation to achieve the goal of being the #1 business within the simulation. So they have done that on the right-hand side, and we can look through some of that and see that they've put in a lot of thought and effort into their analysis. So, yeah, if I pass it back to Susa, she can talk a little bit about the next simulation, which is SimRound.
All right, thank you, John. So that was briefly about Global Challenge. So next up is Cesim SimBrand, and this is our marketing management simulation game that develops the students' understanding of kind of the whole marketing decision-making process with particular emphasis on profitability. So the simulation covers various marketing topics, including segmentation, positioning, delivery channels, investments, and so on. And in addition, the teams will make some very kind of strategic decisions regarding the company's core competencies. So the students will work in teams, just like in GC, and meet kind of in direct competition against the other teams. So kind of we encourage and enable unique strategy creation and execution, and we do that by kind of starting the teams of SimBrand with completely fresh companies without any operations history. So what you can see now is sort of the home screen. This is where your students can get a quick overview of the game's current standing, the closest deadline, as well as their own profile information and some team information. So as you can see also here, our simulation games kind of follow a similar structure. This is to lower the time of adaptation for the students, really. So what this means is that SimBrand's first logical step is also to analyze the market outlook before each round, and then to proceed to make decisions kind of related to the products of the company. In this case, as you can see, they're mobile phones. So, for example, they would be here, setting the sales price. They would be allocating some advertising budgets, and in this game also they will get to touch both the European and the Asian markets. So this is also has an international element to it. Now, after choosing kind of they can choose the warranty period for their products. There is a customer care element. They can invest in repair quality and set some margin on repairs. So this is all quite interesting. They can follow all their balance sheets and income statements on the bottom in the anchor menu. And so as you can see, this is also a quite comprehensive, but a little bit more focused, or I would say marketing focused simulation. As you can see here, there's actually two different input fields. This may be interesting. There is a white and there is a blue input field. The white is actually your decision for the next round, and the blue is kind of an estimation as such. So, and once again, kind of similar to GC, when the students are done tweaking their decisions, they decide together, whose decision set, is going to be saved as the team's decision set. So here I'd like to actually note that there are the students are free to input different decisions. They are free to play around with the simulation game. These will not be saved until they deliberately do so. So this kind of allows students to see some of their results calculated in real time, but not impact their final bottom line. So that they're going to see on this screen that you see in front of you on the results page, in the kind of a form of a summary report, where they can see contribution margins, operating profit, return on sales, and so on. And they are also able to download all these results in different formats. So this gives a lot of flexibility in terms of viewing results. Right, so that about concludes, again, the overview of this small service management simulation. So now, again, I will let John take over from here with some specific use cases.
Okay, thanks very much, Susa. I suppose one thing to say before I look at my slide here is that Global Challenge, the one we looked at earlier, simulation looked at earlier, is very much a strategic simulation. So there's a lot of long-term strategic decisions to be made in there, such as purchasing factories and launching new technologies. Whereas in SimBrand, there is an element of strategy, but there's no purchasing of factories or production. So the students are designing a mobile phone or PDA device, launching it to the market and competing with their competitor teams. So I suppose with SimBrand, we're very much focusing on marketing, and that's what it's all about, so obviously from the name. But here on my slide, I'm sort of showing that like in marketing, we segment, we target, and we position. So the students are designing a product, a PDA phone, based on the market research, which is a report within the simulation that tells about the different markets that are there, the customer's preference for a PDA device, the features they would like in it, the technology they would like in it, sort of the pricing that they would go for them. And there's two markets, Europe and Asia. So the students basically have to take that market research and analyze it and segment and develop a phone that will run and go through the product. So they need to position it and use the 4 Ps. So yeah, this slide is just here to show very quickly, here's a picture of a number of phones that my students have designed, and they've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different products in different markets with different styles. So it's only here for us to view because I want to use it for my next slide. And that is here where we're looking at the students have designed those phones, and as you could see, we're a number of rounds into the game, and we're using the BCG matrix. So the students get to understand how to use the Boston Consultancy Group matrix and understand how to know whether their phone is a star or a dog or a cash cow. Will meet with me and discuss it. They will show me the reports, and they'll get an idea that, okay, we haven't got a phone that's maybe a cash cow, so what do we need to do? How are we going to develop it? Where have we gone wrong? So they take the knowledge of theory again, they put it into practice in the simulation, they make their mistakes in some cases, and then they have the time to rectify and improve their product, develop it on a marketing basis. So yeah, the SimBrand simulation is extremely good for talking about the basics of marketing, 4 Ps, and developing the product through the life cycle. So you can see that I have here the basic life cycle that a product go through, whether it goes through into maturity or whether it goes straight into decline. So students have the opportunity to launch their products, compete with the product against the other student team's products, and see have they done a good job or not, and whether their product will go to maturity or not. So it's a good way of explaining the product life cycle with them. And I have put in the Nokia Engage in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, and that's just that, you know, in your classes you probably bring real-life examples. So, for example, the Nokia Engage is a product that was launched that never got into the growth stage, that didn't, that got straight into decline. So sometimes with students, they launch a product, it doesn't quite work, and they go back and change it. On the very left-hand corner, I've put in that, you know, there's financial elements as well, and there's also the element of break-even analysis. So how do they launch a phone that will go to the marketplace and actually make money for the company? So that's mainly what I want to say about SimBrand. So if we move on and we look at some of maybe the best practices that I use within the simulation and how I use them, and this is basically related to my own simulations and how I run them. So you can change them and do your own style if you wish as a teacher. So yeah, in this slide I'm mentioning that you can use a simulation within your own course in what you're teaching. In my own courses, I often build a simulation or often build a course around the simulation. So in other words, I have the simulation running at the same time as the course, and I'm using my theories that are related to the simulation. So I'm really trying to bring the whole theory to life and get the students to understand the BCG matrix as we saw, and then use it when they're using SimBrand, for example, and show me and explain to me how they've used it, how they work it, and how they understand it. So as a teacher, it's a good way to bring that practice into it. So there is an element of bringing the theory into practice, as I mentioned, through the simulation. So bringing the theory to practice, you can see that I've done that in the earlier print screens, and the students get the opportunity to see and test different theories. So often I go through them in class, and in some cases I send them links to different theories out there, and they will go to the web pages, look at the theories, come back and put them into practice, and then tell me how they went on, how they took the decisions, how they put the theory into practice, what they learned from that theory. So it really brings it to life for them. And
this is actually really quite interesting. Did you feel that there was a better connection made between between theory when the students get to actually practice it?
Yes, for sure, because in class we like all teachers, we develop the theories and we explain them and we show how they run. But there's nothing like getting your hands dirty and actually using putting those theories into practice so the students get to really understand them. So they have come to me and said, okay, I wasn't fully sure when you explained it in class, but now that I've had the opportunity to sort of try it out myself and see how it goes, then I can really see that it is a useful theory, or I can see how the theory works.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so basically with the SimBrand simulation, as I mentioned, I have the marketing mix up here in the top corner. The students have the product in the very top left-hand corner there. They have to design it based on that market research. They have to launch it into the markets with Europe or Asia. So they need to try and focus in on what are the needs of the market, basic marketing. So what does a market need? How do you cover those needs? How do you develop a product that suits those needs? And so they have the product element. On the little bit up the top on the right-hand side, you can see that they set the price, and there's also the cost of developing that product there. So it's a really good way of getting the students to understand that you obviously can't develop and price a product the same price as you cost it, so there's the margin in between. So it's something that the students really get to understand, that they need to have a margin on their product, and that needs to cover things like promotion and advertising and distribution. So it's a good way, again, of bringing the theory into practice. So in SimBrand, there's a possibility to sell the product to different markets. So we have households, high-end households, companies, and high-end companies, each with their own distinct needs that they want from a product. So my students are there developing their phones. Each team is working hard to try and cover those needs and best place a product that covers the area of price, covers the area of the needs, that they use promotion. We have in the bottom left-hand corner channel investments, and they have advertising. And they need to try and understand how do they best use that to get the product there and selling, and make it the best product for those needs of the particular market. So as I mentioned earlier, we have the element of positioning. So one team might position a product that covers all 4 areas. Another team might position a product and they might position it towards high-end companies. And usually the teams that manage to figure out that if they position their products to the higher demand areas when the demand is at that level, they usually manage to do very well. So another element of how I use the simulations is that you don't need to teach the simulation in the computer room. You can have, once there's an internet available, students can use and do the simulation on their laptops. But I find it particularly useful in my own courses that the beginning classes, I have my students in the computer room, I set up the simulation, and I talk them through how to make the decisions, how to input the areas, what each area means, and then they can try it on the computer in front of them, and then we can discuss it, and they get the hands-on approach, and they can talk to me, ask me questions, and that usually avoids any confusion.
Right. So how actually it would be quite interesting to note that how fast did you feel that the students get kind of acquainted with the game?
They get quite they get integrated